Hi everyone, so this is Jane for Debrief Round 1 or Post-Debate Analysis Round 1 for beauty standards. So the purpose of this video is just to give you an idea of what type of arguments and what type of angles that you can take in this debate. Obviously, this is not a holy grail. There are plenty of arguments out there. We are sure that you have made better arguments, more creative arguments. So this is just a general guideline of what we can expect from this debate. Hopefully this will be helpful for people, yeah? So next, right. Under the motion, this House believes that digital alterations of the body in media brings more harm than good. So I'm going to first discuss about the government's arguments about what you can do as a government, and then I'm going to move on to opposition. So as the government, first you can assess that the use of digital alterations have reached far more than what we see back then in mainstream media. So it used to be only in magazine, it used to only be in movies or TV. So it's very exclusive, although far reaching. But right now it entrenches like personal distance, right? Right now you can see digital alterations in social media, you can see it in your feed, you can see it in your profiles, you see it in your content every day. And even more than that, you're now allowed to access digital alterations through the use of filters, through photo editing apps, through everything. Right now, it's very easy for you to alter physical appearance. You don't have to be very skillful in Photoshop to make sure that to change the way that your face look, to change the color of your eyes, to change your hair color even. So it entrenches physical distance. Right now, it's accessible for everyone that has a smartphone or everyone that has some digital device. So with that being said, what are the first harms that you can assess from government? You can first assess the harm of self-acceptance, right? You can talk about how beauty standards have long been a problem in societies, from whitening creams to eating disorders. We have seen a lot of actual physical consequences of what beauty standards, the imposition of beauty standards have done to our societies. The fact that there are people actually hurting in many South Asian countries, Southeast Asian countries through whitening creams shows that that's how dangerous beauty standards can be, right? That's how dangerous the imposition of what perfection looks like can be. Now, for so long, campaigns about self-love and acceptance have tried to fight this, right? We have tried to fight to say that you don't have to be white-skinned to be beautiful. We have tried to fight to say that, all body types are beautiful, like the Dove campaign has done. But what has digital alterations done to backtrack this progress? Number one, the continuous exposure in huge numbers and entrenching physical distances allows accessibility of beauty standards to be even more superimposed to people, right? Back then, you have to look at a magazine or to look at a movie to see what beauty standards look like. Now, you can see it happen in your face real time in social media, right? Now, the problem of this is that we're not talking about, harmless filters like giving you like dog ears or filters that gives you a lot of flowers and stars around you. No, these are the type of filters that always follows the influencer beauty trend, right? These are the filters that makes your face slimmer. These are the filters that make your eyes look bigger. These are the filters that gives you a sharper jawline. Now, what it does is that with that filter, it adds to the pressure of beauty standards being imposed to individuals, right? So before even any practical harm, it allows continuous exposing of the idea that people can look better, or in this case, look more closer to the existing beauty standards. If you with the idea of filters, right? That's how digital alteration entrenches you to at how it imposed the idea of beauty standards to you. So the question or the engagement in this particular argument is that as society progresses, as we try to fight for self-acceptance, do we tolerate digital alterations as something so prevalent? Because it gives significant backtrack to the progress, right? You want to talk about how you should accept your appearance, but at the same time, look, you can look closer to Kim Kardashian if you use this filter. So these are very opposing ideas. So you can engage with this argument about whether or not we should fight it, whether or not this is a huge harm that we should regret existing in societies, in government, right? Next, you can talk about how it especially is harmful to youth, particularly young girls, because a lot of digital enhancements is very focused on women, right? A lot of beautifying filters, a lot of filters that changes physical appearance is always, it's much more prevalent to women, as beauty standards always is in the status quo of the world today. From Kim K's break the internet, big butt, to a lot of Snapchat filters, right? It's always targeted towards the ideal femme look, or a lot of it is targeted to the ideal femme look. What are the harms that you can assess from this debate, from this argument? First, you can talk about how it exposes beauty standards not only to women, but to a very young, impressionable demographic, to unrealistic standards of beauty, right? We're talking about teenage girls, we're talking about girls at the age of 10 to 15, we're talking about young women who is currently in their lives trying to find self-acceptance, trying to find their identity. And right now, in this vulnerable age, you're exposing them to these ideal standards that are very often not realistic for many people. Like, not many people are born with blue eyes, not many people have very slim jawline in real life. And now you're exposing these ideals to an impressionable audience, telling them that this is what pretty looks like, this is how beautiful looks like. This is even more worse. You can argue how this is worse than what Barbie dolls did back then, because at least with Barbie dolls, it's something that is completely fake, right? It's very difficult for you to see yourself in a Barbie doll, or at least it takes a lot of imagination. Right now, you can see it happen in your face real time, and we can talk about how this allows consequences to happen for young women in the future. First of all, it makes young teenagers being unhappy about how they look, and it may extend to obsessive behaviors, such as the obsession of their physical appearance, making them feel not confident if they don't look like the Instagram filters. Eating disorders and other following behaviors may occur, right? So this happens because the impressionable audience that you're targeting to are the people that are very flimsy in their confidence and self-image, right? Because it is in their age where they're trying to find themselves. And right now you're extending that harm by exposing them to digital alterations, having women that they see in their feed looking unrealistic, having themselves being able to see their faces looking prettier or closer to the standard, right? So in the end, you're exposing these standards to a very young audience that may cause them to have harm in the long run. Furthermore, another argument that you can extend with this is that not only this is bad for the girls or for the young girls, but this is bad for everyone else, right? Because right now you're exposing them to the standard means that it allows people to judge other people if they don't look closer to the standards, right? This is why bullying happens. This is why calling other people ugly happens, because if they don't look like what they look like in their digital world, means that they are not beautiful. And these cases have happened where we see social influencers being targeted, really bullied by people because they don't look like what they see in Instagram in real life. Like a lot of there was a case where a meet and greet went really wrong because the social influencer or the people or the girl presented in their real life doesn't look like anything in the Instagram. And this is the type of harms that we see in the prevalence of digital alterations. It also allows other genders, especially males, to see these unrealistic standards and then having that imposed to like people in real life, and that's how, it ruins a lot of feminist progresses, especially to young girls. So that argument can extend far there, but this is basically, this can be the basic start that you can have for that argument. Lastly, it normalizes beauty enhancing procedures. We're talking about there's a rising trend of lipo, Botox, and other procedures done to younger and younger audience. Now, what is the problem, right? Because, plastic surgery is okay. Like, as long as it's consented, it's okay. But if it's consented through very minimal consideration, if it's consented, if it is requested by a very young audience that is exposed to a lot of these ideals in a young age, even though they themselves don't really understand, what type of self-image they want to look like, it may cause them to have very minimal risk assessments, because these procedures do have risks. Plastic surgeries do still have risks. It is still a surgery. And you can ask the question, you can also argue that it's not necessary for a lot of these people, and they may sacrifice a lot of their capital, they may sacrifice a lot of their time, and most importantly, they're doing this not because of their own accord, but because of the pressure that society and the pressure of digital alteration exposure has given them, and why that's not okay. So that are the type of arguments the government can make in this debate. Or there's a type of line of arguments that you can make. You can enhance, you can go further to addressing feminism, you can talk about societies, you can talk about young people. So that's the type of angles that you can take, right? The sample of angles that you can take. So what about opposition in this debate? Opposition can start by saying that, well, you do agree that many digital alterations look like beauty enhancement. It's not as harmful as it looks. Like, this is the internet. Everyone looks different on the internet. That's why you have avatars. That's why you have, different profile pictures than your face. Internet is always about, making yourself look different. So you can still support self-acceptance movement in the filter age or in the digital alteration age. If anything, you might do it easier because of this particular technology. So the first argument you can assess, I'm just going to move myself. The first argument you can assess is about how it is a safe outlet, a boost of confidence for a lot of people. Since because having no digital alterations doesn't mean that you're going to delete beauty standards. Beauty standards will always exist in all areas. There's nothing that you can do about it because society is fascinated about the idea of perfection, about looking perfect. And as long as mainstream idea exists, as long as we still have TV, as long as we still have social media, as long as we still have magazines, as long as we still have all of these medias, beauty standards are not going to ever go away. People will still undergo risky behaviors to achieve what they see as perfection. And people are still going to judge themselves and other people about how you look. Now, what good that digital alterations give to this particular premise? Number one, digital alterations give a chance for people to fulfill their physical ideal vision, right? In the era of internet where you mostly interact online, this might be satisfactory enough to curb actual risky behaviors, right? Because everyone wants to look a certain way, everyone wants to find their ideals, and maybe perhaps with digital alterations, it becomes enough for people to change themselves through the internet without necessarily doing risky behaviors that physically can harm them. So this is an outlet, a good outlet, and a less harmful outlet in comparison to a real life that gives satisfaction to the people to change themselves according to ideals. But secondly, it gives a chance for people who in real life are not considered beautiful to feel and look beautiful, which is a huge boost of confidence because people are very judgmental in real life also. Without digital alterations, we still judge people about how they look, their appearances and whatnot. And for some people, they might not be fortunate enough to have the capital because beauty is expensive, to look the way that they want to look in real life, to present themselves they want to do in real life, enhancing their beauty, having good makeup and whatnot. This might not be accessible to many. So it does give a chance for people who in real life may not be considered beautiful to look beautiful. And it is a huge boost of confidence, right? For you to flatten the flaws of your skin if you have a lot of acne, for example, and that gives you a huge boost of confidence, or making your hair look neater. These are some things that gives a lot of confidence to people who in real life may not be able to access that. So the engagement that you can have with this particular argument is that dialogues about self-acceptance and varying standards of beauty are very prevalent. These exist. We hear them all the time. It's in big campaigns like the Dove campaign, right? So surely we can educate people that digital alterations, although prevalent, is not realistic, right? I think at this point you can argue that people know that the filters that you use on internet is not realistic in real life. So since societies are getting smarter, don't you think you want to still allow this to give satisfaction, like individual satisfaction for people to look the way that they want to look online? So that's the type of engagement that you can take. You can argue that how this is good and a good outlet that gives far lesser harms than what we see in actual physical judgment and the world before, where you can only alter appearance through physical means. The next argument you can talk about is, escapism, because this is the internet, right? The digital media, especially the internet, is always been a haven for escapism. That's why you play games. That's why you obsess with K-dramas. That's why you imagine yourself being the main character in this manhwa, whatever, right? It's always about escaping the real life. It's to relieve stress, to be who you are. But more crucially, some people don't like the way that they are presented in real life. Some people's appearances may not represent themselves fully, and it may affect their confidence and the way they carry themselves. It disallows them to be fully their authentic selves. And this misrepresentation may cost them the ideal world and situation they vision themselves in, right? Because some people in real life may imagine themselves looking very different, or may not be fully themselves because they don't like the way that they look. Physical appearance and a lack of self-confidence may change characters in real life because they don't feel like they're good looking enough to talk, or they don't feel confident enough to present themselves in societies. And this is caused by beauty standards, but as we assess the opposition, beauty standards exist anyway, right? So this is not something that we can alter through regretting digital alterations. It exists in real life. So what good that digital alterations bring? Digital alterations allows people to do what they never do in real life. So they can extremely alter their appearance according to their best ideals. For example, some people may only feel confident if they look like an anime girl. Some people only feel confident if they look a little bit more masculine. Some people may feel more confident if they look a little bit more feminine. So digital alterations give access for these people to find their fully authentic selves, to feel confident finally about expressing themselves and expressing their character through an appearance that is best suited to their ideals, right? So this is where we allow people that is not able to be fully themselves in real life to be their fully authentic selves in the digital world. That it allows escapism to the real life where they're nowhere close to the identity that they want to. And now they can fully live out a life that is authentically there. So this is the extent of how happiness can happen for some people. Digital alterations can give meaning to characters, to people that may never feel themselves in real life in the digital media. And in the end, you can argue that it gives all of our quirky friends that only feel confident if they look like an actual anime girl, to find their happiness, a chance to find their happiness, to escape the real life they don't feel confident in, to be confident in the digital media. And that's a good that needs to be celebrated. And you can compare to that, with the harms later lah. And last argument that you can make is about money, of course, because some people, not unlike the Kardashians, live off their altered digital appearances. We're talking about social media influencers, we're talking about a lot of e-girls, we're talking about a lot of e-boys, we talk about a lot of role-playing internet personas, right? Because it is an industry that sells, and it gives no harm to other people, but it gives a lot of benefit for them, so because they can now monetize their content, right? So we should appreciate that digital alterations provides accessible and monetized channels for self-employed workers to access. So that's the type of line of argumentation that oppositions can take. Lastly, before I close this PDA, which is a bit too long, I think, in my opinion, harm versus good motions always needs to compare, right? So people need to engage on the key questions that each sides have, and compare that, which one is worse, which is more likely, which is more harmful, what are the things that we can curb. So we hope that we see this engagement in further debates about harm and good, but for now, these are the type of arguments that you can make under this motion. So yes, I hope this is helpful. If you're tuning in up until this point, thank you so much, and I hope that everyone has good rounds. So bye-bye.